Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Hello, everybody in the chat. Today, we're going to be talking about the Streisand effect. What a classic example of the Streisand effect in action, because Scientology's attempt to quietly stop us from protesting and put a ban in place to stop us gathering outside the gates of St. Hill here in the UK has now become national news. I really mean it when I say that I'm not messing about, and this is something that I care very deeply about and feel very strongly about, and I will keep fighting to do what I can to protect our right and freedom to protest and freedom of speech. So let's talk about what's been going on, but first, hello to everybody in the chats. T per Scientology order is in the house, 12:29 a.m. in Bali, but we'll try and stay awake for this. Well, thank you for joining and thank you for staying up late. Hans Christian Schwartz is in the house. Good evening, Alex. Hello, good evening. This is an earlier stream than normal. It is not even 6 p.m. Jeff Beaumont is here. PTS for life. Scientology sure does like to stick its foot in its mouth. Good job holding them accountable, Alex. Thank you. And absolutely, sticking their foot in their mouth is what has happened here. So to fill you guys in who may not already be aware, obviously the IAS event is coming up, the International Association of Scientologists. It is an annual gathering where a lot of money is made at the Church of Scientology's headquarters in East Grinstead, down in a place called St. Hill. It is the largest gathering of Scientologists in Europe. It is widely regarded as the, if not one of the largest or biggest fundraising events in their calendar. It's a 3-day weekender, and last year we gathered outside the gates of St. Hill to protest. We weren't protesting their religious beliefs. We weren't protesting their practice of religion, but we were protesting the abuse and the maltreatment of staff members and people inside the organization who have been disconnected from families, who have been punished or put on hard manual labor. All that sort of stuff that goes on in Scientology is what we were there to protest. We also wanted to educate Scientologists on the importance of reaching out if you need support. There is a number of people in this community that are willing to support people leaving Scientology, and we wanted to get that message across to Scientologists attending this event that, hey, there's a community of people here to help them if they choose to leave. There are places like the Aftermath Foundation they can go that will help them land on their feet when they want to set up a new life. We weren't trying to convince anybody to leave. We were just telling them that there are resources available. So this was the first protest that had happened outside St. Hill in 5 years, right? We're gathering again on the 25th of October this year for the second protest in 5 years, and Scientology are trying really hard to shut it down. They have applied for what's called a Public Spaces Protection Order, which would ban protesting outside St. Hill, and I'm fighting with every ounce of my being against that order so that we continue to have the right to protest. And today, it was picked up by BBC News, the national broadcaster here in the UK. I sent out a press release on Monday, and it was picked up by the Sussex media yesterday. I did a stream about Sussex News, the Argus, and so on, the local newspapers publishing stories about this. And this morning, I woke up to my name plastered all over the BBC, which is fantastic news. So let's have a look at the article. If you want to read along with me, there is a link in the description. BBC News. Here we go. Church of Scientology seeks HQ protest ban. The Church of Scientology has asked Mid-Sussex District Council to impose an order stopping people from protesting outside its British headquarters in East Grinstead. A request for a Public Spaces Protection Order, PSPO, was submitted to the council in the hope of preventing protests such as the one held by ex-Scientologists last November outside the grounds in St. Hill Road. So again, interesting wording here because they are suggesting multiple protests have occurred. There has been one protest outside St. Hill in 5 years. That happened in November last year. There is another one planned in October this year. Why is this important? Well, because a Public Spaces Protection Order can only be implemented if there is evidence that the action they're trying to ban is persistent, recurring, and unlikely to stop. Unfortunately, I don't see how Scientology can evidence that our one protest in 5 years, soon to be two, is a persistent and consistent problem for the local community. I don't know. That's all to come in the process of dealing with this PSPO. But let's carry on. Scientology became a recognized religion in the UK in 2013. Now, that's another statement that is for another video. That's a whole debate in and of itself. The 2013 ruling, when I was on staff at London Org, it was all about people getting married at London Org. It was two of my former colleagues, Ali Caucioli and Louisa Hodkin. Louisa Hodkin was the bride. Her father, Peter Hodkin, is Scientology's lawyer, the very guy who is fighting for the PSPO to be put in place to ban protesting. The case was all about whether they could get married in a religious wedding ceremony. In the UK, there are multiple different types of weddings: civil wedding and religious wedding. And if you want a religious wedding, it has to be done in a place of worship. Now, Scientology buildings were not considered places of worship, so they took this matter to the Supreme Court, and it was deemed that the chapels, that's one room and in an entire Scientology building, are considered places of worship. The definition of religion it was changed in British law, and the High Court or the Supreme Court justices agreed that because of this new definition, Scientology buildings now qualify under law as places of worship. Not even the whole building, just the chapel portion that can perform wedding ceremonies. It wasn't a ruling that recognized Scientology as a religion. There is no such religion recognition list in the UK. There is no government authority that recognizes religions. There's no official list of what is and isn't a religion. That actually is determined by a number of different rulings. For example, the Charity Commission. If you want to apply to be a charity because you're a church or a religious group, there's an exemption under the public benefit portion of the Charities Act that says if you are a religious group, that automatically qualifies you to be therefore benefiting the public, and so therefore you can be tax exempt. Scientology were rejected tax exemption charity status in 1999 because they failed to prove that practicing Scientology benefited the public. The Charity Commission ruled that practicing Scientology was something that's personal and individual and independent and doesn't benefit society, and therefore they were rejected. Last year, 2023, the Charity Commission upheld that decision when I contacted them and asked. They confirmed that it's too late to appeal that decision, and should Scientology want to be reconsidered for charity status, they would have to apply again and go through all that whole drama from scratch. So, Scientology is not recognized as a charity in the UK. It is not recognized as a religious group with charity and tax benefits. Their property are recognized as properties are recognized as places of worship. That's very different to having religious recognition in my mind. But anyway, let's carry on with this article. The Church of Scientology said, in cooperation with local officials, we have been working diligently to solve the problem of disruptive individuals periodically causing disturbances and endangering safety on St. Hill Road in East Grinstead. Alexander Barnes-Ross, that's me, a spokesman for the ex-Scientologist group, said such an order would be a direct threat to their freedom of speech and right to protest. Mr. Barnes-Ross, who has become an outspoken critic of Scientology, added the aim of the PSPO was to shut down and silence critics. Interesting, Scientology didn't deny that in their statement to the BBC. They didn't reject that. They didn't disagree with it. They didn't say, we're not trying to shut down people's free speech. We're not trying to silence critics. They didn't deny any of that, did they? Or if they did, it wasn't published in this article, at least. The PSPO was on the agenda at a recent District Council Scrutiny Committee meeting, the local Democracy Reporting Service said. For those of you who want to watch that Scrutiny Committee meeting, I streamed it live on my channel. It's also available on the Mid Sussex District Council page on YouTube. And I then did a live stream when I got home afterwards, giving you my thoughts on what went down. Members were told the council had to balance the protected legal rights of the two groups, the right to assembly and expression for the protesters, and the right to freedom of religion for those attending the church. Now, I'd like to make it again really, really clear we are not protesting their so called religious beliefs. We are protesting the abuse that is prevalent within the organization. The IAS event is not a religious service. Scientology claim that their religious worship is auditing, right? Spiritual counseling is how they describe it. They claim that's a religious service. Mid Sussex District Council are not going to want to be put in a place where they have to rule on whether it is or is not a religious worship act of worship, ceremony or whatever. But the point that is really, really key here is the IAS event is a fundraising event. It is where David Miscavige walks out on stage and he explains to the world of Scientology what's been going on in the last year and how they've helped cure homelessness in whatever country and how much money they've spent on this and that and how much Scientology is expanding beyond belief. It is not a religious worship ceremony. There is no auditing that takes place at the IES event. There is no group processing. There is no pastor that walks up and says, "Praise be the Lord." Just David Miscavige standing on his little Apple box, addressing 3,000 people and telling them how great he has been as their leader over the last year. So our protest is not going to be disruptive to an event that is a religious ceremony. We are not criticizing or discriminating against anybody who is a Scientologist. We are trying to make them aware that there is support and resources available to them if they ever need help leaving. We're trying to help them. In fact, last year, we even complimented them on their outfits. We wished them well and said, have a good event. Keep your credit card safe. And we will be there with a very similar, if not the same message this year. Members were told the council had to, I've already done that bit. The committee agreed the issue should be consulted on by the cabinet and a decision made on whether to impose a PSPO. No such order will be in place in time for this year's IES event, starting on the 25th of October. Instead, the council and Sussex Police will observe the coming event, collecting and sharing evidence. So that's why it's really important we get our messaging right this year. I want to invite anybody who wants to join us at the protest to please feel free to do so. But please understand that we will not tolerate harassment or discrimination of anybody attending the event. If you are following people down the road with your live stream, if you are harassing them, if you're yelling at people, those are all things that could, under British law, be considered harassment. And that is not why we are gathering outside St. Hill this year. We are gathering to send a supportive message of kindness and compassion. And anybody acting or behaving in that way will immediately be reported to the police and the council, who will have observers there watching our every single move and hopefully stepping in if things go awry. So if you want to come, please make sure you do so with a positive attitude, with kindness and compassion, and sharing a message of hope, not a message of harassment. A report to the committee said if a PSPO is considered potentially necessary and proportionate after the evidence gathering exercise, the council will carry out full public consultation. The Church of Scientology added, these individuals stand in the road, placing themselves and drivers at risk. Now, I have never seen such a bold-faced lie in my life. Right? In fact, I want to share a picture with you, which I should have prepared before going live. Let me just get it up here. Bear with me, uno momento, because I want to show you what exactly they are talking about here. Here we go. So this is a photograph taken last year, which shows supposedly protesters standing in the road. Okay, So here you can see that's me in the middle. We've got Jeff, PTS for life here, who came over from Canada to take part in the protest, and a bunch of local residents. Selena from Wales came along. It was a really good bunch. This was actually taken on, I think, the Saturday or the Sunday, which was a smaller turnout to what we had normally on the Friday. But you can see here the side of the road. We're not technically in the, I mean, I guess you could probably say that it is the road, because look, a couple of us do have our feet in the road. But the reason we're standing there is because you see this little wall here and these plants behind. Those are temporary obstructions that Scientology have placed on the pavement, which you can see here. This is public right of way. This is public land. This is a pathway here. And Scientology have placed a cone, a table, some signage, and these plant pots and a temporary wall, along the pavement, and parked a van here so that we can't stand on the pavement, and we had to stand on the edge of the road in order to be by the gates. Now, this is not where we were standing for the entire protest. We stood here temporarily so that we could get our picture taken. The majority of the protest, we were actually on the left-hand side of this van here. There were two vans parked one next to each other, and we were then on the grass verge, much further down than we were here for this picture. Some people continue staying there. I was there for a little bit of the protest as well, but you can hardly say we were standing in the road. And for those few brief moments that a couple of us were standing in the road, it's because Scientology had put stuff in the way so that we had nowhere else to stand. It is not their land. That area is a public right of way, and their obstruction is what caused the safety issues for us as protesters and for the members of the public that are attending the event. This is all stuff that I've pointed out to East Grinstead Town Council and to Mid Sussex District Council and to the Highways Authority. And I've kind of said, guys, this is a big problem. And if they're worried about safety, they should perhaps consider not obstructing the public right of way so that there's more space for all of the people that are trying to enter the property. One thing also to consider is Scientology tried to claim that the traffic issues on the day in the area were caused by us protesters standing in the road, which is simply not true. The traffic issues, all of the roads were clogged up, there was a lot of congestion. That was all caused by the thousands of Scientologists traveling from across Europe to attend the event, and Scientology having no traffic management system in place, or if they did, it was a terrible one. There are multiple entrances to St. Hill Manor. There are lots of different ways onto the property. Scientology decided to use just one of those entrances and a car park down the road on the opposite side at the rugby club, which meant the people attending the event had to walk along the road to get onto the property. They were also circulating really big coaches that were empty, going round in circles onto the property, out through the back entrance, and then along the road and into the property again to make it look like more people were arriving. But we had these, selfie sticks and cameras, and we could see that there were no people in those coaches. So they are unnecessarily creating additional traffic in the road. So those are the issues that cause the disruption to the local community. Our small group of protesters on the verge next to the road did not create a disruption to the local community. But it hasn't stopped Scientology here trying to claim in this article that our protest was disruptive. The church has been a leading member, I guess that means in the community, for more than 60 years. If such people had laudable aims, they would be cooperating with an effort that only has the community's safety in mind. Well, I can't share the email with you just yet, but what I can do is tell you that one of the first things I did when organizing this protest is email the Church of Scientology Office of Special Affairs, Graham Wilson, the head of OSA in the UK, and I said, hi, I know that you and I don't see eye to eye. However, we want our protest to cause the minimal amount of disruption possible. So please could you let me know how many people you're expecting, when they're going to arrive, which entrances they're going to be using, so that we can coordinate our protest to ensure that we have a minimal impact on your event and cause the least amount of disruption. If we could work together on this, that will mean that neither of us are disrupted. We're allowed to exercise our right to protest. You're allowed to have your event, and we kind of, figure out a way of doing it so that we don't cause disruption to you and your event. The reply that I got was actually an email to the council with me copied into the email that basically said, I don't want to talk to Alex. He's a bigot and he's part of a hate group, and I have no interest in collaborating with him whatsoever. He's only emailing because he wants to harass us, blah, blah, blah. Right. This has gone legal. My lawyer is involved, and this is why I can't share the email with you just yet. But I have tried from the very get-go to act in good faith to show that we don't want to cause disruption. I want to organize the protest so that it doesn't interrupt their event. Scientology are the ones here that are refusing to collaborate. And when it comes to safety, us as protesters can move around. We're human beings. We can stand in one area. We can move out of the way if someone's coming along the road. We can't move plant pots and temporary walls and hedgerows that Scientology have planted along the side of the road on the public right of way. All those things are obstructions, and that gets in the way of us as protesters and forces their own attendees to walk in the road. So who's the one here that is more concerned about safety? That's my question. So that's the end of the article here. This is like I said, once again, it's the BBC News. Scientology here have tried to silence and muzzle us as protesters. They have tried to shut us down, put a ban on protesting, and quietly think the problem's just going to go away. Unfortunately, this is the Streisand effect, right? You can't tell us to shut up. We have a freedom of speech and a right to protest. We were muzzled when we were in Scientology. You took away our freedom of speech, and we won't allow that to happen now we are out of Scientology. How dare they try and silence us? We have a right to express our views and to offer support to your members that you are mistreating, and we will do that within the law. We will do that as we are allowed to, and we'll do so peacefully. But that's our right, and don't you dare try and shut us down. Because this is what happens. The media have got a hold of it. Sussex News picked it up yesterday, and now it's on the BBC, the national broadcaster. And I'm sure this isn't going to be the end of the media coverage of this issue. So that's the update, guys. Let's have a little look at some of your comments I've been starring as we've been going along. Educon, the article's third paragraph is Scientology became a recognized religion in the UK in 2013. Not sure that is true. I understand it is an option on the census. And I recognize a request to the Registrar General can be made for a venue to be recognized as a place of worship, but that does not mean Scientology is recognized as a religion. Excellent point, and I think I covered it a little bit earlier on. Mrs. J's here. Evening, lovely people. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Educon says even the ONS, that's the Office of National Statistics, state they do not maintain a list of recognized religions. And that was on the 23rd of June, 2021. Exactly. Well pointed out. Thank you. Leanie G is here. SP Crusader. Hi. Thank you for joining. SPTV for the win. Mrs. J says, want to be a part of this year's protest. The abuse has to stop, with the link iesprotest.com. Indeed, the website that I've set up for this year's protest is the same link as last year, and it is iesprotest.com. Let me bring that up here. So those of you who are wanting to come along, this is where you can find out all of the information about this year's protest. So we're just campaigning against the abuse. There's a countdown here, 15 days away. There's a register to attend button. If you want to stay up to date with our protest plans, we can put you on the list and make sure we keep you updated. There's a statement here about how it's a peaceful protest. There's the press release here that I sent out to the media. if you want to read it. There's some pictures from last year, but most importantly, at the bottom, there's event information, why we're protesting, and information about how we intend to keep this a peaceful protest. You can also download banners if you want to download the pre-designed ones and print them out yourself, but you are also, of course, free to make your own. This is where all of the information about the protest is located. So please do check this out if you are thinking of joining us. And thank you for bringing that up, Mrs. J. Drop Short Media in the house. Hi, Alex. F Scientology. There we go. Thank you for joining, Brad. I appreciate you. And you were such a key part of our protest last year. I'm really disappointed that you can't make it this year. But of course, you would be welcome. I don't know why you're not able to make it. Brad texted me saying he can't make it this year, unfortunately. But thank you so much for your help thus far. The SP Chef is here. Evening, Alex, and the other darlings in the chat. Hello, SP Chef. Thank you for joining, Sam. Ryan M. Hi, Alex. I'm glad to join you from Canada. AA, we love Canada. I've got family over there. And obviously, Jeff, PTS for Life, is over in Canada too. So go and give him some love. And Gabriel Toth, Escaping the Cultiverse A, are the big Canadian ex-Scientologists on YouTube. Educon, I'm not even sure protest is the right word. Exactly. We're protesting the abuse, but number one priority is educating the public and educating Scientologists on the support and resources available to them. T per Scientology audit says so ridiculous. Hopefully the rules are followed and they're wasting their time. Exactly. If you look at the situation last year, there were no protesters arrested. There were no cautions made. The police were there with us the entire time we were protesting, and there were zero concerns raised with protesters about their behavior, the way they acted, about discrimination or hate speech. None of that was an issue last year. But that isn't stopping Scientology from claiming that those were issues. The Holy Rogue says, Alex, you're so good at informing us with such a strong and smooth delivery. This is important information. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining and thank you for your support. Linda Mikkel says the only time anyone was in the road was when Scientology pushed someone into the road. Yes, that's another thing that happened, right? So me and Stephen Jones, who is a very prevalent, prominent ex-Scientologist in the UK who's been protesting Scientology for years, we were down by the stables when they were opening this new building and we were protesting on the public right of way. And an OSA agent, a Scientology employee, started to try and push both of us into the road, into moving traffic. Right? Stephen Jones very kindly noticed what was going on and stepped in between me and the OSA agent, and the OSA agent continued to push him into the road, and he almost fell over into the road when there was a car coming. It was incredibly dangerous. It was definitely borderline an assault. But that's when someone was in the road, was when Scientology were getting really aggressive on the Sunday. I think I said Saturday a minute ago. I meant the Sunday. It was definitely happening. It definitely happened on the Sunday. And all of this is captured on my channel because I live streamed the whole thing. If you want to go back and watch it, you can see it happen in real time. XRP Army GA Yoda says they have gotten away with the planters in LA so far, so now they think it's going to be effective everywhere. They are so disconnected from reality. Well, slight correction there. The planters have been used at St. Hill for years. I believe plants were first installed for the IES event in 2011, which was 13 years ago now. They've been using this as a tactic to disrupt protesters and any demonstrators for over a decade, for years, right? And what they did is they planted actual trees and installed a fence along the road opposite the entrance, which is where protesters have gathered in the past. They put it there so that protesters couldn't gather there. And I have obviously reported this to the council, who are now taking action. And the Highways Authority have written to Scientology, ordering them to remove the plants, to cut the trees down, and to get rid of the fence. They have 28 days to do so, which expires just before the IS protest on the 25th of October. However, they will be given a 14-day extension in which they are required to remove the plants, which means they're likely to be there this year. However, after that 14 days has expired, if those trees, that hedgerow is still there, the council will remove it and send Scientology the bill. So it's something that I've been working on for many months, and fingers crossed we can get some sort of action that allows us more space in the public on the public land outside St. Hill, which would make it safer for us as protesters. Tina and the last 20, Alex, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Bok Buddy says, as an American who checks BBC News daily, I'd say you're making international coverage. Well, there we go. I'm waiting for some international publications to pick this up. Newsweek gave us some coverage last year of the protest, and I'm continuing to work with journalists around the world to try and get coverage of this. And the point here is Scientology are trying to silence us and take away our freedom of speech and our right to protest. It's not about any one individual. Yes, I've given them a statement and I've been quoted in the article, but the point is that Scientology are trying to do something here that goes against human rights. It's a human right to protest. It's a human right to speak, and to speak freely and to protest peacefully. And so Scientology are trying to go against that. And that's the issue here. And that's why it needs to have as much attention as possible. Kelly Belcher, wish I can join you, but as a nurse, may I suggest compression socks for those who can attend as to not develop blood clots? Once a nurse, always a nurse. Exactly. There is a section on the website, on the IS protest website, that talks about being prepared for all weather conditions, for example. Please understand, if you are planning to attend the protest this year, that we will be standing outside in the cold, potentially in the rain, and definitely the wind, down a narrow country lane for many hours and standing there on a verge. So please make sure you bring suitable footwear and you bring suitable clothing to keep yourself warm and dry. And if you have circulation issues, bring whatever you need, whether it be the socks that prevent blood clots, you know, a camping chair or something that you can put up, that you can sit down if you need to, but make sure it's one that you can pack up easily, because we don't want to obstruct the right of way. And so if you do sit down on a little camping chair, just make sure that you're staying vigilant, so that if someone is trying to walk past because they're trying to attend the event and access a St. Hill property, that you can quickly pack it up and move out of the way, so that we're not getting in the way of them trying to attend the event. So please look after yourselves and make sure that you are taking those precautions and being aware it's going to be a long day, but it's so valid because they will not suppress our voice any longer. So, guys, more to come on this issue. I'm working full time on the protest planning, on the media engagement, on the PSPO battle, and liaising with the council and the police. All day, every day, I'm focusing on this at the moment. It is going legal. I've got my lawyer involved. So if you guys want to support this cause, please consider using the link down below to buy me a coffee, PayPal, all that sort of stuff. That helps cover the soon to be extortionate legal fees I'm going to incur, because this may very well end up in the High Court. Otherwise, please consider liking this video, making sure you're subscribed and you've checked the bell and put all notifications, so you always get a notification when I go live. Please make sure you've signed up on iesprotest.com if you want to attend the event, and I'll keep you up to date with planning and organizing news as it comes. And I will see you guys on the next one. And I have one message, and I don't think I can be any clearer when I say I'm on war footing and I'm not fucking about.